Hello guys, good day. Welcome back to our channel and welcome back for another lecture, no? And today we are going to be discussing the topic on emergency and crisis management. This is very important in the subject human behavior, especially on the old curriculum. By the way, no, medyo matagal tayong hindi nakapag-upload. Pasensya na po kayo kasi medyo naging busy lang tayo in the past weeks, no? So with that, no, babawi tayo ngayon at babawi tayo sa mga susunod pa na araw, no. So yun guys, no, I'm very thankful that you are still watching our lecture, and today we are going to be conducting again another lecture, no. So you have it already, no. Andyan na yung ating topic. We are going to be talking about emergency and crisis management, no. We have here the following topic, no. First is we are going to be talking about what is crisis, the types of crisis, agency in charge, and 4 P's of crisis management. Usually, since we are a criminology lecture channel, it is expected that what we will be talking about is most likely related to law enforcement, Kasi pag sinabi natin crisis, guys, marami namang uri ng crisis, no? Hindi lamang hostage crisis, but there are a lot of crisis situation that we can discuss, no? Like for example, during the pandemic, no? During the pandemic, nagkaroon tayo ng crisis, no? Iba't ibang uri ng crisis, financial, health crisis, and educational, a lot of crisis talaga for security reason, crisis on security, something like that. So maraming uri ng crisis, and we try to limit our topic only to those that are related to law enforcement, no? So we have there what is crisis, we have types of crisis. We are going to be talking about also about the different agency in charge, no, in dealing with crisis, no, kasi ang topic natin, as I've stated, is more on crisis management, no? So without further ado, let's jump right into our discussion. So the first thing that we will be talking about is, let us first define what is crisis, no? Ang crisis pala, no, or ang crisis is, it refers to a time of intense difficulty, trouble, or danger, no? So in by definition, by definition, guys, we have here the so-called. By the way, I have prepared the module, no, for this lecture, for the whole human behavior lecture. So yung mga ibang lecture natin, guys, such as for example our lecture on introduction to human behavior, introduction to abnormal behavior, sexual abnormalities, no, something like that. I have it all on our channel, no, na-upload na natin yan. So ito yung parang last part niya. Now, if you wanted to, or kung sinusubaybayan mo yung discussion natin with regards to human behavior, kindly message me lang, no? Comment lang kayo sa baba, guys, for the copy so that I can send it to you, no? So, I have lectured already the previous part, yung mga unang part niya, so that is already available, no? Now, for the last part, ito na yung pinaka-last part niya, topic number 7, I think, no? So for the whole module, no, you can avail it. Just message me. Message lang kayo, comment lang kayo below. Okay, so we go back, as we have stated, we define what is crisis. By the way, we need to distinguish crisis, emergency, and disaster. Now first, we need to distinguish crisis, what is crisis, what is emergency, and what is a disaster. No, kasi they are interrelated to each other. Ang crisis, as we have defined so far, is it refers to a time of intense difficulty, trouble, or danger. Like for example, during the pandemic, no, nung tumama itong pandemic sa atin, we are at crisis, no, in different aspect. Financially, no, kasi nga 'di ba nagsipagsara ang mga kumpanya, no, So nagkaroon tayo ng financial difficulties and we are all affected by that. So kaya nga meron tayong mga ayuda and something like that. So not only on finances but also in security and in health, no? Pati sa health, meron din tayong crisis doon. kasi biglang dumami, biglang tumaas ang kaso ng transmission ng COVID-19 during the time. So that's a crisis. No, we can consider that situation as a crisis. No? So ang crisis kasi, if we're going to look at the distinction of it from, like for example, we have emergency and disaster. I think it's safe naman to use crisis and emergency interchangeably, but sometimes we need to distinguish them first to have a clear understanding on what is crisis and what is emergency, as well as what is disaster. Parang ganito, kumbaga. Now, first is we have emergency. Emergency muna, no? Yung progression kasi ng mga event, like for example, is first is we have emergency, then we have the pre-disaster crisis, no? Meron yung tinatawag natin pre-disaster crisis, then we have disaster and post-disaster crisis, no? So first yan, crisis, we define it. Then we have also emergency. Ano yung emergency? No? Kasi sabi ko nga, the progression is it will start always with an emergency situation, then we have pre-disaster crisis, disaster, and post-disaster crisis. Yun yung progression niya. So yung emergency is defined as a serious, unexpected, and often dangerous situation requiring immediate action. No? So ito muna yung first na nag-exist. Then after emergency, now we have also the term disaster, a sudden accident or natural catastrophe that causes a great damage or loss of life. That's the definition of the three words. No? They are interconnected, interrelated with each other. Now, as we have stated, they progress from emergency, then pre-disaster crisis, disaster, and post-disaster crisis. To have a better understanding, I think we need to provide you an example. No? So I have here a situation. No? Ito yung situation natin dito. Let me just read the situation. No? The Philippine National Police Intelligence Group, no? Yung IG, no? The intelligence unit of the PNP received, no? Nakatanggap sila ng reliable information that the terrorist group Hamas will launch a simultaneous bombing in the city of Manila, specifically on the crowded areas such as yung mga shopping malls and public markets. So, eto guys, this situation can be defined as an emergency situation. Emergency. Why? Because it needs or it requires an immediate action so that it will not progress into a disaster. No? Kasi it's a bombing incident, of course. No? Marami ang pwedeng mamatay, no? Marami ang pwedeng mapahamak if it will not be addressed immediately. Kaya nga, ang pinag-uusapan natin is most likely emergency and crisis management. How will we manage or react to a certain emergency situation? So, receiving an information about a possible bombing, no, attack, no, in a certain place, that is an emergency situation. No? So, emergency, as we have defined, is something that is serious, no, and can cause, can cause a disaster if will not be addressed properly, no. So, yan yung first natin, no, emergency muna yung first na nag-exist. But, for example, they fail, no, the Philippine National Police fail to address the emergency situation efficiently. Kumbaga is, yes, nag-take sila ng action, but it's not efficient enough to prevent the emergency situation from being committed. No? So, what will happen next is we have the so-called disaster. No? Magkakaroon talaga ng disaster kasi halimbawa may binomba nga sila. No? Binomba nila yung malalaking shopping malls and public markets in City of Manila. Then, there will be a lot of life that will be sacrificed because it wasn't handled properly. So magkakaroon tayo ng tinatawag dating disaster. No? Yan yung mangyari. So we have that on situation number 2. If the terrorist group was able to execute their plans of bombing the different shopping malls and public markets in the city of Manila, then that will cause a disaster. Yun yung disaster natin tinatawag. Kapag marami na ang naisakripisyo or marami na ang nasawi, no? Then that will be a situation that we can consider as a disaster. Okay? Ngayon, um, yung crisis dito guys, no, asan yung crisis dito? It refers to the situation wherein as a result of the bombing, no, as a result of the bombing incident, syempre magkakaroon na tayo ng tinatawag nating public fear, no, magkakaroon na ng panic, no, magkakaroon na tayo ng chaotic situation kasi nga syempre matatakot na yung mga mamamayan about their security and they don't know what to do. That situation can be considered now as a crisis. Kaya nga sinabi ko, the progression usually is something like emergency, then pre-disaster crisis, then disaster and post-disaster crisis. Yung pre-disaster crisis usually appears when the public, no, will now fear, no, syempre matatakot na sila, no, excuse me, na lumabas. Na matatakot silang lumabas. Why? Because merong banta ng terorismo na mangyayari. Merong banta ng pambobomba na mangyayari. Yun yung magkakaroon na tayo ng crisis. Pwedeng ang mangyari dito, shopping malls will not open. Na hindi sila mag-open. Why? Because there is a possible bombing incident that will occur. No, they could be the target. No, pwedeng sila yung maging target, lalo yung mga owner ng mga shopping malls, pwedeng sila yung maging target kasi maraming tao doon. No, so ang gagawin nila is they will close down because of that for security reason. Ayaw naman nilang matarget yung kanilang business establishment. So with that, kapag nagsipagsara itong mga to, magkakaroon ito ng magre-resolve ito ng tinatawag nating crisis. Even public markets, syempre, nakatanggap sila ng intelligence report that may mga bobombahin ng mga public markets or crowded establishments such public market. Anong gagawin nila? Matatakot yung mga tao na pumunta sa public market. Matatakot yung mga tao na mag-open, no, ng kanilang mga business, especially if they're located in the crowded areas, no, crowded areas. That will result again into crisis. Siyempre yung mga tao walang mabilhan. No, yung mga tao ay lumabas kasi nga may banta ng terorismo. No? So yun yung situation natin na yun will complicate into things. No? Siyempre, mawawalan sila ng pwedeng pagbilhan ng pagkain, yung mga nagtratrabaho doon mawawalan ng kita, no? Yung mga mamamayan matatakot na pumunta sa mga ganong lugar, no? Then that's bad for business, that's bad for the finances of those who are relying, no, on their daily job working in this area sa public markets o sa mga shopping malls, something like that. So yun pa lang na magkakaroon na tayo dito na tinatawag nating pre-disaster crisis before pa man na mangyari yung disaster, no, yung anticipated disaster, nagkakaroon na tayo ng pre-disaster crisis. Yun yung nangyayari before that. No, then the post-disaster crisis is when, kapag nangyari yung tinatawag nating disaster, no, yung pambobomba na sinasabi nila, nagawa nila, na ituloy nila, so anong resulta nito? Syempre, again, no, people will still fear, no, going out because there is still meron pa rin yung banta ng terorismo, di ba? Takot pa rin sila, takot pa rin yung mga business owner na magbukas, takot pa rin yung mga tao na lumabas kasi may banta pa rin ng pambobomba, things like that. Still, no, business are affected, finances are affected, security are affected, no, and that will still cause crisis. So, meron yung tinatawag, yun yung point ko sa pag-play that there is the so-called pre-disaster, no, kung ano yung mga nangyayaring crisis before mangyari yung disaster and then the post-disaster, anong mangyayari kapag nangyari na yung disaster. Take for example the pandemic, ano? During the pandemic, di ba nagkaroon tayo ng crisis with regards to nagkaroon tayo ng shortage sa mga yung mga alcohol, nagkaroon tayo ng shortage sa yung mga goods, no, that can be stocked, like for example mga delata, mga noodles, no, yung mga yun, no, yung tissue, yung alcohol, yung mga soap, even Zonrox, no, yung mga cleansing agent na yun, nagkaroon tayo ng shortage of that in anticipation kasi of the incoming disaster. No, alam natin may paparating no? Face mask pala, I forgot to mention, face mask, face shield, nagkaroon tayo ng shortage ng mga supply ng mga yan, so that caused crisis, no? So, masasabi nating pre-disaster kasi bago pa tumama ang pandemic sa atin, no, alam na natin may pandemic na kumakalat, may virus na kumakalat sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, sa iba't ibang bansa, at nakikita nga natin sa social media and in news na sobra ang effect nito, kaya nagpanic ang mga mamamayan, no, nag-hoard or bumili sila ng maramihan, no, na mga products that are essential, no, yung mga tinatawag natin mga essential for yan sa health reasons such as alcohol, face mask, something like that. So nagkaubusan, no? Ito yung tinatawag nating pre-disaster crisis. Hindi pa tumatama, no? Hindi pa tumatama yung pandemya sa atin, pero nagkakaroon na tayo ng crisis in different aspect. Financially, no? Yung stocks, no? The prices of the stock market, no, nagcrash na siya kasi nga nagkakaroon ng financial crisis because of the pandemic, hindi pa tumatama, no? So yun yung pre-disaster crisis. Then after that, pagtama ng pandemic, what happened? Marami ang namatay, no? Marami ang nawalan ng trabaho, marami ang nahirapan mag-survive because of, finances, and walang mapagkuhanan ng pagkain, things like that. So that is now the disaster. No, yun na yung disaster. Then after that, after the disaster, what happened next? No, that we can consider as anong nangyari pagtama ng pandemic. No, dumami ang kaso ng COVID-19, tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang quarantine period. No, hindi pa rin makakalabas ang tao. No, nagkaubusan na ng pera kasi nga yung mga ipon nauubos na. No, so nagkakaroon na naman tayo ng crisis again. No, after the pandemic. Until now, we are still experiencing the aftermath of the pandemic. Hindi pa tayo totally nakaka-survive, no? Hindi pa natin nalalampasan totally, no? Siguro nalampasan lang natin yung pinaka-peak niya, pero nararamdaman pa rin natin yung epekto ng pandemic na yan, no? At we are still in crisis. For example, in education, no? We can say that yes, meron tayong mga pamamaraan how to cope up with that, but still, no, ramdam pa rin natin yung epekto ng pandemic na yan because, for example, we are still on online class, no, something like that. So, these are all the aftermath, no? These are all the post-disaster crisis na nating tinatawag. No, that's with regards to pandemic, para makarelate tayong lahat, no? But for example, dito sa ating case, no, dito sa ating situation 1, 2, and 3, no, we explained that, no, as the first one, upon receiving the information that there will be some bombing attack that will occur in the city of Manila, that is now considered as an emergency situation. The government should react immediately upon that to provide or to manage, to reduce the possible impact of the crisis. No, dapat yun yung gawin nila. If they fail, no, if they fail to prevent or if they fail to prevent the occurrence of the disaster, then definitely magkakaroon tayo ng disaster, no? Then after that, we have the crisis situation, no? As I've stated, we can use crisis and emergency interchangeably in law enforcement. Wala na bang issue yun, But then just to understand the distinction between emergency, crisis, and disaster, that's how we explain it. Okay? Ngayon, let's move into the two types of crisis. No? Meron tayong dalawang uri ng crisis. We have man-made crisis and we have natural crisis. No? For man-made crisis, of course, these are a crisis that are created, no, by human being. No, meron tayong tinatawag na with the element of human intent. No, ang the reason why that crisis situation existed is because of human being. No, sila ang gumawa. Marami tayong mga uri ng ganyan, We have, for example, arson, we have bombing, we have terrorism, no, and others, no? Yan, pwede yung mga the commission of crime, no? The cyber attacks, arson, civil disorder, war, no? Yung mga ganun, those are man-made crisis, no? Those crisis that is caused by actions of human being. Like for example, what's happening in Ukraine, between the Ukraine and Russia. They have a war, they have a crisis, meron silang crisis situation doon. That's because of them, no? That's because of human being, no? Sila yung naging dahilan. Yun yung mga tinatawag nating man-made crisis. In comparison, no, doon sa natural crisis na tinatawag, natural crisis or crisis that are caused by the processes of the earth, no? For example, no, taal, di ba? Na may banta na pwedeng sumabog ang taal. That's a volcanic eruption. That's a natural crisis. Whatever the situation that will transpire because of that threat, no, that is a natural crisis, no? Yung mga typhoon, yung mga hurricanes. Anyway, we don't have hurricanes naman dito. Firestorm, mga ganun, no? Those are all natural crisis. Ang pinaka-common dito guys, usually earthquakes. Sa atin, earthquakes, then typhoons. Yun yung usually. Then we have the volcanic eruption, no? Kasi we are located in the Pacific Ring of Fire, so we have a lot of those things happening. No, natural crisis yun. But if it caused by the natural processes of the earth. Okay, so there are two types of crisis only, man-made crisis and natural crisis. Paggawa ng tao, that's man-made crisis. Ito ay resulta ng tinatawag nating natural processes of the earth, such as for example having typhoon, bagyo, no, lindol, pagbaha, no, pagsabog ng bulkan, and others, no, those are all natural crises. Okay? Now, in relation to that, we have here the different concerned agencies, no, that are involved in dealing with this type of crisis. Kung man-made crisis yan guys, nandiyan yung tinatawag natin National Peace and Order Council, no? Sila ang in charge dyan. Kasali ang mga LGUs, kasali ang mga law enforcer. They are the primary agencies involved in man-made crisis. Ang tawag doon sa kanila is the National Peace and Order Council, no? Pag mga man-made crisis, they handle that. Pag natural crisis naman, we have the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, no? Kaya yung tinatawag nating NDRRMC. They are involved in that. Pag mga typhoons, no, calamities, natural calamities, we have the NDRRMC, no? Managing those different crises that's happening. No? They are also involved in preparing the community in case those natural crises will occur, and things like that. Okay. Excuse me. So with that, we already have an idea of what is crisis, what is emergency, and what is disaster, as well as we have an idea already on what are the different types of crisis and who are the agencies involved therein. No? Now let's talk about crisis management, kasi that's the important part of the lecture, no? Crisis management. How do we define crisis management, by the way? No? We define crisis management as the expert handling, no? Ito yung the expert handling of a crisis or emergency, no, with the aim of reducing or eliminating danger or damage. So we manage crisis situation, no, for the purpose of number 1, reduce, 2, or eliminate danger or damage. That's the reason. That's the goal. No, that's the goal of crisis management. The expert handling of a crisis emergency, that's crisis management. What's the goal of crisis management? To reduce or eliminate damage or danger. No, that's crisis management. Now, in relation to crisis management, we have two theories here. No? Meron tayong dalawang theory dyan that could be adopted. Both of them could be adopted actually, or they're being adopted actually. No? We have the crisis management model. No? Ang focus ng crisis management model is more on understanding the crisis before it occurs. Ang kanyang proposal is that in order to manage crisis properly or efficiently, is that we must first understand that crisis in all aspect, no? Kung bakit siya nag-exist, ano yung possible reason, paano natin siya i-address, something like that. So it's more on theoretical concept, no? For example, there's a hostage taking, no, na nangyayari. There's a hostage taking incident. So if we were to follow yung tinatawag nating crisis management model, we should focus on understanding why nag-exist itong hostage taking incident na to. Bakit ng hostage yung perpetrator? No? Bakit niya hinostage yung victim? What are the reason? No? Because understanding the crisis could give us an idea on how we deal with it efficiently. No? Kapag naintindihan natin kung bakit nag-exist yung isang problema, no, mas makakapag-formulate tayo or makakagawa tayo ng plan on how we will deal, reduce or eliminate the damage, no, that could result from that crisis situation. Yun yung kanyang proponents. It's more on the concept. It's more on understanding the reason, theoretical, no? Samantalang yung isang theory on crisis management, the structural functional system, ang kanyang proposal naman is that in order to address crisis situation efficiently, is that we should create an organization that have a working communication linkages, no? Merong tinatawag nating organizational structure, no? And these individuals will handle the crisis. And actually it's true, no? Kasi mahirap halimbawa if meron tayong crisis situation, hindi natin alam kung sino ang ating kakausapin. Hindi natin alam kung sino ang magbibigay sa atin ng instruction. So magkakaroon tayo ng gulo yung ating mga different branches of the government kapag yun ang nangyari. Now, like for example, we have the IATF, no, in response to COVID-19 pandemic, no. So there is this, gumawa sila ng isang functional system, the functional agency and ad hoc agency that are formed solely for the purpose of addressing the issues on COVID-19. So nagkaroon tayo ng isang agency, no, na kung saan is sila ang naatasang mag-handle ng mga iba't ibang aspeto on how we address the problem. And with that, nagkakaroon tayo ng efficient plan, efficient strategies on how we deal with it. Kasi mahirap halimbawa kung iba-ibang tao, no? Yan actually ang medyo napansin natin, ano. Although there is this IATF, no, meron silang IATF pero hindi kasi iisa ang kanilang mandato, no, kaya nagkaiba-iba ang tawag dito, ang mga patakaran ng different provinces magkakaiba, no. Meron yung iba na pumapayag sila na pumasok yung mga coming from NCR sa mga high-risk area, pumapayag silang pumasok. They need to undergo quarantine in government facility, no? While others, no, are allowing home quarantine. And why did that happen? Bakit walang uniformity on the approach on how different provinces are dealing with COVID-19 pandemic? Because the mandate of IATF is sabi lang, it's your prerogative, no? Which is, it's not efficient. For me, no? It's not efficient. Kung sinabi na it's your prerogative, bahala kayo dyan na mag-decide, maguguluhan, ang kawawa dito is yung mga ordinaryong tao, no? Yung mga tao na kung saan is, they're expecting na ganito ang treatment na marireceive nila, pero pagpunta pala nila doon sa province na yun, iba pala yung treatment na ibibigay sa kanila. So sila yung nagiging biktima. Ganyan din actually ang mangyayari, guys, if we don't have a functional working functional organization. Na kung wala tayong organization na kung saan is siya yung magbibigay lamang ng decision, no, at yun lamang yung susundin, then it would be hard to deal with it. For example, hostage-taking crisis, no? Hostage-taking incident. Nagkaroon ng hostage-taking. Now, the hostage-taker should, magkaroon dapat ng mediation. No? Nagkaroon dapat ng pag-uusap. Negotiation, mediation between the law enforcer and the hostage-taker para ma-resolve yung issue. Kasi, of course, hostage-taker usually have demands, no? Ngayon, magbigay siya ng demand, magbigay yung hostage taker ng demand. Etong si law enforcer na nakipag-uusap, no, yung police na nakikipag-usap, or any person who is in charge on the negotiation process, don't know where to, hindi niya alam kung sino o sino ang kakausapin niya. Just to to address the demand. For example, food, no? Sabi niya, dalhan niyo ako ng pagkain dito. No, police officer don't know kung ano ba ang gagawin ko, no? Should I give food, no? Magbigay ba ako ng food, no? Or I should not, no? Parang if there is now no working system, mahirap na. Sino kakausapin mo? Si mayor, si hepe, si COP, si governor, si congressman? We don't know. So dapat meron tayong system, no? Yun yung propose ng structural functional system. Na dapat, no, bago pa man magkaroon ng crisis situation, is that meron na dapat nakatalagang agency. Meron na dapat establish na unit, no, na organization na kapag nangyari itong ganito, is all they need to do is to convene. They already know their purposes. They already know what's their function, no, in the organization. Alam na nila kung ano yung magiging trabaho nila. Alam na nila kung ano yung mga action na dapat nilang gawin, something like that. Then it would be much more efficient, no, to address crisis situation. But I'm not saying that structural functional system is much more better. The concept of structural functional system, it's much more better than crisis management model. Actually guys, they should combine. Pinagko-combine naman actually siya. Now, meron yung mga in charge with regards to the communication process, kasi when it comes to crisis situation, communication is very important. Dapat merong communication, direct communication na nangyayari. Kasi kung wala, mahirap na, no? For example, if I'm the perpetrator and 3 or 5 people are talking with me, I don't know. Hindi ko alam kung sino ang papakinggan ko, hindi ko alam kung sino ang kakausapin ko, then that could be a problem, no? So they should be combined together. There should be an organization, and there should be, deeper study, no, deeper understanding being conducted in order to, no, understand the situation and address it properly. Kasi you cannot address a problem that you don't understand, no. That's true with regards to crisis management. Okay. Then next we have here the essential elements of crisis management. Dalawa yung very essential, no, members of a crisis management team. Dapat meron itong tinatawag nating incident manager, no, which is ang bumubuo ng incident management is usually the law enforcers, no. Sila yung mga initial contact, sila yung mga nakikipag-usap, sila yung mga front liner kumbaga ng crisis situation. For example, hostage taking crisis. Okay, sino ang mag-manage? Who will deal with the hostage taker? Sino ang mag-enforce, magpatupad ng batas doon? Sino ang mag-cordon doon sa scene para hindi pasukan ng bystander? It's the incident manager, the law enforcer. So, if there's a crisis, syempre pupunta dyan ng kapulisan. They will handle everything, no? From crowd control, no, to negotiation, to the hostage taker, to the security of all the people present in that location. Yun yung kanilang trabaho. They are the incident manager. Sila yung frontliner in a crisis situation. Yung consequence manager, sila naman yung tinatawag nating support groups. So, for example, fire officer, yung mga fireman natin, dapat nandun sila. Baka mamaya biglang may sunugin, may masunog, no? Or andun din dapat ang mga ating mga medical personnels, no? Paano kung may nabaril, no? Paano kung biglang may inatake sa puso, no, doon sa mga hostage, no? So dapat nandun sila to give first aid and so on. What else? No, hindi lang 'yan. Siyempre, pwede rin nandiyan yung pare, no? Kasi baka makatulong sila, no? Baka makatulong yung kanilang spiritual power, no, sa pagresolba ng crisis situation, no? Sino pa dapat ang mga nandiyan? Others that can provide support, no? Pwede ring a psychologist, no, to help in the briefing process, no, kapag halimbawa na-resolve na yung crisis situation, yung mga biktima kailangan nilang mag-undergo ng tinatawag nating therapy, no, immediately there magkaroon ng post-traumatic counseling, something like that. So they should be there. Yun yung mga consequence manager, no? Sila yung mga involved sa pag-handle sa mga consequences of the crisis. Kung hostage taking yan, pwedeng may masaktan dyan, pwedeng may mamatay, pwedeng may mabaril, pwedeng may manganib ang buhay, at dapat meron yung mga nakahanda dyan, no, na kung saan sila yung tutugon kapag nangyari yung mga yan, no? So yun yung mga consequences manager. consequence manager, no? Support groups, okay? So they're very important. Na hindi lang dapat police ang nandun, dapat meron din mga medical personnel, no, just in case something happen, no? They will deal with the consequences of the incident, okay? Now, the purpose of crisis management, as we have stated kanina, is to reduce or eliminate danger or harm, no? We have the term Salvari Vitas, no, which means that to save lives. That's the primary purpose of crisis management, to save lives. Salvari means to save, no? Vitas, that's life, no? So Salvari Vitas means to save lives, and Salvari Vitas is the purpose of crisis management, which means the primary purpose is to save lives. Now, whatever the reason is, no, kapag halimbawa meron tayong crisis situation, ang pinaka-purpose dito is to save lives. Of course, meron din tayong tinatawag dito na priority, ano? The priority, no? The hierarchy of priority when it comes to saving life. The first priority should be is the security, no, and the safety of the bystander. Kasi mas marami sila eh. No, the bystander, yung mga taong nakapaligid doon, dapat secured sila. Hindi sila madamay, hindi sila mapahamak. So they should be the first priority. No? Second priority, of course, no other than the victim itself, yung hostage. No? Yun yung second priority. No? Then third priority, of course, the life of the team, the crisis management team, the support groups, the incident group, yung buhay ng mga kapulisan, yung buhay ng mga support groups na nandun, they are the third priority, no? Last priority would be the life of the perpetrator. It's not mean, no? Hindi naman siya, inhumane, no? But actually, it's really is, that's really the reality, you know? Kasi if you are going to take for granted, for example, the life of those people surrounding the area, no, wala kang gagawin, hayaan mo lang silang makichismis doon sa paligid. Pwede silang mapahamak, ano? Mas maraming buhay ang pwedeng madamay kapag hindi mo sinecure muna yung mga bystanders. So sila dapat yung first priority mo. Kaya nga meron tayong tinatawag na crowd control, no? Palayuin natin sila para hindi sila mapahamak, para hindi madagdagan yung casualty. Then second to that, no, kapag na-secure mo na yung mga bystander, no, you try to secure the life of the victim already, no, yung hinostage, no. The next to that, no, don't forget also, no, that you don't need to sacrifice your life as the incident manager, as a police officer, no, to resolve that. Kasi syempre mahalaga din naman ang buhay ng ating mga kapulisan and the support groups. And last priority na siguro dyan is no other than the life of the perpetrator. No? Again, hindi naman porket last priority yung life ng perpetrator is that we will no longer do something to save his life also. No? Hindi naman yun yung point. Kasi nga sabi ko, the main purpose of crisis management is to save lives. Ito na yung ito na yung human rights. Dito na pumapasok yung human rights natin tinatawag. No? That even if he is the perpetrator, no, kahit siya yung perpetrator, is still, no, we still go or stick with the purpose of crisis management, which is to save lives. To save lives pa rin tayo. No? Salvari Vitas. Okay? Now, we go to our last topic, which is we have here the 4 P's, no, of crisis management. What are the 4 P's of crisis management? Well, we have prediction, prevention, preparation, and performance. No? Ang crisis management natin is actually divided into 2 phases. No? Dalawa yan. First is the proactive phase, no, yung proactive, and then we have the reactive phase. No? Crisis management does not occur only, no, at the moment the crisis incident occurred. No? Hindi lang ang crisis management is hindi lang nakafocus doon sa mismong pagkakaroon na ng tinatawag nating crisis, no? Bagkus, no, crisis management should start at the very beginning, no? Yun yung first part pa lang niya is more on prediction. We try to predict what crisis could possibly occur at a given situation. I'll give you an example, no? So, like for example, during the campaign period. Ngayon, President Duterte, for example, went to your province. Pumunta siya sa province niyo or nagsabi na pupunta siya diyan to, to endorse some politicians, no, para ikampanya niya yung kanyang mga pambato, no, parang ganun. So ngayon, if you are the police officer of that province, if you are the head of the PNP organization in that province, na ikaw yung halimbawa provincial director, na you know that could result into crisis, na pwedeng magkaroon tayo ng crisis na tinatawag dyan. So what should you do? No, first is that you should predict. No, predict. Ano yung pre-predict natin? Prediction is more focused on foretelling of the likelihood of crisis occurring. Pag pumunta si President, for example, no, what crisis could occur? No, ano yung possible crisis na pwedeng mangyari? Pwedeng may mag-rally, no? Pwedeng may mag-assassinate sa presidente, no? Or pwedeng may manakit sa presidente, things like that. Those are possible crisis, no? Kaya nga meron tayong prediction, no? So, pag paparating na halimbawa yung situation, no, isipin natin what are the possible crisis na pwedeng mangyari, no? Pwedeng may assassination attempt, pwedeng may bombing attempt, pwedeng may magrarally, no, may manggugulo, something like that. So you will all predict those things, no? Predict mo 'yun kasi pwede talagang mangyari 'yun. Ngayon, if you predicted, no, this different crisis to occur, no, na-predict mo na baka i-assassinate siya, no, so anong gagawin mo? Prevention, no, how will you prevent that? No, security, no, secure the area, no, bago pa man pumunta yung si president, no, dapat secured na yung area. I mean, nakita nyo na yung mga possible area na pwedeng pagpwestuhan ng mga masasamang tao, no, ano pa, no, kung yung rally, halimbawa yung rally, how would you prevent that, no, paano mapigilan yan para hindi sila makalapit, no, hindi sila makagulo. Kung may mga manggugulo, anong gagawin mo para hindi sila magtagumpay sa panggugulo, no, things like that. So that's more on prevention. You can only do prevention if you have already identified what are the crises that could possibly occur during that situation. So if you predicted that there could be an assassination attempt, no, so how will you prevent that? By deploying, bahala ka nang mag-develop ng program mo, no, as long as you know already, parang discarte mo na rin yan kung paano mo yan i-prevent. Basta ang point doon is that at the moment na meron kang kakaharaping situation, you should already start managing the crisis before it occurs, no? Bago pa man lumabas or bago pa man, magkaroon ng crisis, is dapat na-predict mo na yan para na-prevent mo na sana, no? So prevention is the second stage, which is more on proactive pa rin to. Now, prediction is proactive, prevention is also proactive, no? Prevention is when you try to remedy, no, or provide solution, no, for the possible crisis that occur as predicted on the first phase, no? So that's prevention. Ngayon, you should also involve preparation, no? Ang preparation that involves planning, organization, training, stockpiling, something like that. So preparation is when you identified already what's the problem, no, and you try to prevent it, no, but no, don't rely on your prevention measure. No, wag kang mag-rely on prevention measure, like for example, hindi, pwedeng may assassination attempt. So what we did is nilinis na namin lahat ng lugar, no? Nilinis na namin, nilagyan na namin ng tao ang bawat sulok ng lugar kung saan pupunta ang presidente. Kaya safe na siya, no? So kampante ka na. Ngayon, that's wrong, no? Kasi on crisis management, hindi dapat porket you have already tried to prevent the incident from happening is that you already succeeded. No. On the third phase is that you should still prepare for the worst case that could happen. No, pwedeng mangyari diyan is paano kung halimbawa meron pa rin nakalusot at nabaril nilang president, no? Pero kung may nakalusot at nakapanggulo pa rin sila, how would you deal with that? No? So, if you don't, if you didn't prepared for that, for the worst thing to happen, then pwedeng mag-fail, no? Pwedeng fail yung crisis management mo. Kasi, kampante ka na that you prevented already the crisis from happening but you didn't prepared for the worst thing to happen. No? Kaya hindi ka nakapaghanda. Walang naka-standby ng mga medical personnel, no? Walang mga naka-standby ng mga additional security force, no? And things like that. So, ang point dito guys is that even if you try to prevent already the incident from happening, is that don't stay or don't be huwag kang mag-relax. Excuse me. Huwag kang mag-relax na hindi na yun mangyayari. Mag-prepare ka pa rin for the worst thing to happen. No? So that's the third phase, preparation. And the fourth P, no, the fourth P of the crisis management is performance. Yung performance involves now the putting into action, no, yung mga plans, no, that you prepared, no, in order to address the crisis. For example, no, ayun, binaril nga nila si president, no. So ano yung mga gagawin, ano yung mga series of action na gagawin? Who will run after the perpetrator? Who will take cover, or who will assist, or who will provide medical needs for the president? Sinong magbabantay, sinong mag-aalaga sa kanya, sinong magbibigay ng kung halimbawa serious, sinong magtatakbo sa hospital, sinong magbibigay ng first aid, things like that. So yun na yun sa tinatawag nating performance, no? Pag halimbawa nangyari nga yung crisis, you perform now the different program, series of activities that you prepared on the third P of the crisis management. Okay? So yun guys, so I hope I was able to impart some knowledge with regards to the topic that we discussed on emergency and crisis management, no? If you have questions for this topic, no, feel free to comment in the comment section. And I'm very sorry again for not uploading for about 2 weeks, no? Medyo busy lang tayo. Pagpasensyahan nyo na, no? Tao lang. Okay, so that's it for today, guys. No, thank you all for listening. No, by the way, we are already 5,000 subscribers. No? So, sobrang saya natin doon. I hope na dumami pa tayo. And I hope that yung mga hindi pa nakasubscribe sa inyo ay mag-subscribe na para mas lalo pa tayong dumami. We are targeting actually, shy of 8,000 siguro at the end of the year. Sana maabot natin yung goal natin. No? So help me reach that 8,000 subscriber at the end of the year. Now, thank you all for supporting our channel. Now, that's it for today. See you on the next lecture. Bye-bye.